past 8 o'clock, time to, for the commissioners to go to the agenda. Mr. King, do you do invitation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayo, would you do the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Discussion or adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, we have, I believe it's three things. The first thing is when we went down to Onslow County, I believe that was Thursday night, we found out that Craven County apparently is not going to use their allotment from the eastern region. The county manager made Mr. Keene aware of that. We talked with him briefly, and so we have prepared a resolution. It's a third resolution authorizing the filing of an application to borrow trust funds from the eastern region and establishing the rates. So this would be an additional $576,923 that we would go after. Again, it would be either for our municipalities or the county could also use it as well. And the reason that I'm recommending you go after it is that we're not assured of how much we're going to get under the second allocation. And the other reason is that, as y'all know, we are facing the sewer issue on our Genoa sewer line, and this is 1% money for 5 years. So if our municipalities don't need it, I think we should try to get as much of this as we possibly can to help offset that cost. Because we are finding, as we go through the smoke testing, there are going to be some fairly extensive repairs there. So my recommendation is that you add this. We'll file it today. Pam has already filled out the application. It's ready for the chairman's signature. And as y'all recall, these things are done on a first-come, first-served basis. So we want to be at the head of the line so that when this comes open, when Craven County turns it in, this is sitting on their desk, ready to go.
Do we need to put that in the consent agenda or new business? Or?
If everybody's comfortable with it, I would just add it under the consent agenda. We've done two of them before. It's the identical resolution to what you did the last time.
Okay.
And then the next two are budget amendments, and Ms. Holt, if you wouldn't mind going through those, please.
Okay. We have two walk-on budget amendments. The first one is for the an airport grant. There's a waterline Vision 100 grant that they want to just go ahead and add today. It is a grant for, the grant is for $24,298, and the county matches $2,700. So that you have another one that was already in your packet, and this is just adding that one. The next walk-on is to do the budget amendment to anticipate and appropriate that first $576,000 Eastern Region loan and the 1% fee of $5,770.
Ms. Holt, have we heard from any of the municipalities as to whether or not they have gotten LUC?
I have heard nothing at this point.
And one last question, that is on the water line. Why are they extending the water out?
They're going to be here to explain it to you today.
Oh, okay.
But it is to get, I think you've got to get this line in order to do the fuel farm. It's connected to that. And that one's within the, was it what was in your packet?
You got to have some water out there for that. Okay, well, that makes sense. All right, thank you.
There's all the adjustments to the agenda.
Yes, sir.
We do, the board needs to appoint someone to 70 Quarter Commission. Mr. Keene is on that position now, and Mr. Mayo has agreed to make a motion that we put Mr. Keene back on that commission.
This will be on the executive.
The executive board, yes. What do we need to add that in?
You want to do it in my appointments, or?
Whatever the pleasure of the board and county manager is.
I'm sorry.
Do it under the same time we do the appointment.
Yes.
And I don't see, so the appointment committee does have some nominees this morning.
Yes, sir.
We need to add that in first, and,
Yeah, we left it off, didn't we?
yeah.
No, I was told to put it down where it says committee reports and you should do yours at committee reports as well. Down at the bottom.
Right. On the appointments. Right, we were just gonna put them all under there.
Comments and committee reports.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
by no means do I have anything to do with this, with my appointment, to make that perfectly clear straight up. But appointments, in light of the timing at the end, those appointments could, the announcements of those appointments, Mr. Chairman, could come at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, possible, if the meetings run long. We have closed sessions. But when we set this, setting precedents here in the past to set it up to the front of the agenda as one of the first items before we get into any business, because of the importance of committees that this commission board has advocated that people serve in the community on these committees. And we've advocated strongly, particularly from the appointment committee itself, from Mr. Bell, Mr. Mayo, and Mr. Page, is that the importance of community involvement with the decisions of this board, we want them to be a part of it. And bringing it out at 9:10 in the morning, we're streamed live, we're on the radio station, and I just think that we've been doing that for years, and to enhance the involvement of the community, understanding who's on these committees, I just think it's important, and to have it put down at the close of the meeting, I just think it's less effective that way, Mr. Chairman. I would suggest, and if it takes the vote of a board, whatever, but I mean, I'm just asking for it to remain where it has been, up at the top of the meeting.
The pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
and
Taylor.
I tend to agree with that. You know, we've got some of these boards, it's difficult to find people to apply for. Some of them are popular, of course, but then there are a number of them that we do have problems. So it would be good that we do this. So, and typically, it doesn't take very long to do the appointment before. You agree, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with that because it's an important time, normally right after or before we do our service, employee service pins, that we bring this together because we're at the front of the meeting, plus it allows the appointment committee to focus on several, if we want to, several committees where we need the public's help. And I'm thinking that at the first of the meeting, that's where we got the most viewers, possibly as listening. And I would suggest that we keep it where it's been up at the top. So,
For the previous meetings, where it was
It would have been,
right after approval of the minutes.
yes.
Is that what was that, Mark?
Yes, sir. It was, we had committee reports there under approval of minutes.
I think it's the consensus of the board that we need to put it back up there, so let's put the appointment committee, and we'll take care of Mr. Mayo's, recommendation also at the same time. So let's put it back up there.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Darby.
I'm going to have a post remark. I think it was kind of placed down here in that in order to speed up our agenda. So it was basically to improve our efficiency. So we would ask that the appointments chairman speak briefly when he makes these appointments, but limit your comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank y'all. Okay, and then after the appointment committee, recommendations, special recognition, employee service pins. Marcia, were you gonna call those out? And we'll-
I am,
Mr.
Mr. Wood will be presenting the pins.
Or Mr. Wood, okay.
But she's gonna read them.
She's gonna read them and you'll present them, okay, all right. 9:15, public hearing, request to rezone 542 NC Highway 581 South from residential 10 to community shopping. Mr. Price will be here to go over that, correct? Any discussion on that now?
After the public hearing, are we waiting to take any action on this at our next meeting, or?
Generally, if there's no opposition, we go ahead with that today.
So that we would entertain possibly a motion to approve as early as today.
That's in District 4, now, I don't have much, Mr. King may have more information on what's going on there than the rest of us.
Just a little bit at that time.
Okay, at that time, okay. Okay, then we don't have anything under unfinished business, has anything popped up?
No, sir. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Consent agenda, we've got, now 8 things on the consent agenda. Do we need to go over them now, or is everybody comfortable with what's on the consent agenda?
We added the resolution in on that, is that correct? Do we add this resolution in on that? To be in number 8, is that what we do?
Right,
Okay,
yes,
okay, thank you.
Yes.
I just didn't write it down.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dodd.
I don't want to remove, I want to leave the Mount Olive Comprehensive Transportation Plan on the agenda, consent agenda, but may have some comments on that.
Okay. Well, any board member can, when we go through these, or when we come to the consent agenda, any board member, if they've got any discussion on any of the items, feel free to express your thoughts.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
there was one thing on those budget amendments that are under there. I thought maybe it might be a good idea during the briefing that Ms. Hope might cover those, because some of them are
But we'll
quite a bit of money.
We'll let Ms. Hope go over the budget amendments.
When we get to that section.
That during the consent agenda?
Do that. You do that. Before you vote on the consent agenda, you wanted to just briefly go through them?
Yes.
Well,
There's some of them are large amounts of money. I mean, people need to understand that a lot of this is grant money and it's passing through, that, if it's, $2,000 or $3,000, it's not a big deal to me, but, you understand what I'm saying? If you look at it, I think
do
one
we
of
need to go, I'm comfortable with going over the add-ons, but the other ones, do we want to go over all of them? That was the reason we put it under the consent agenda, to kind of try to shorten the meeting.
Well, like,
But I
example,
understand, the ones with a large sum of money, I understand that you're concerned.
Well, it's not really a concern. I just, like the $79,000 for the sheriff's department, and then the $65,000 for Social Security. Just tell us what it is.
Would you
And
like for me to address them now?
I would think that would be good if we did
Okay,
it
let's
now,
address them now.
and then we wouldn't have to do it during the,
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. King.
you've got budget amendments under consent agenda, and you also have budget amendments under new business. So I think
That was my question.
I would think that the budget amendments that we are going to talk under new business were those that were over $5,000. The budget amendments that should be on the consent agenda would be those that were under our new policy of approval.
The ones that are under consent agenda have no county money in it. If we increase the budget, like revenue and expenditure, y'all need to vote on them. So we just put them under consent because there was no county dollars. And however y'all want to do it, it's still being presented to y'all, but we just thought maybe you just didn't want me to just stand up there and do a bunch of them.
In other
during
words,
that time.
you may have a grant or something like that coming in that's no county money, but it would exceed the 5,000. I think y'all had indicated, go ahead and just approve those. Sure. But I think Bill just wants to get some publicity on.
well, there's just really, exactly. There's only 2 of them. There's the one for the sheriff's department and the one for social services, which are $79,000, and the other is $65,000.
Well, let me suggest this. Why don't we lift those 2 out of consent, Pam, and you go over them under the one where you've got the other 2.
Okay, lift which two now?
321 and 323.
And that way, we'll have the discussion that you want, Bill, and the rest of them will go through as a consent agenda item. Is that agreeable with everybody?
I don't really have any lengthy discussions to do with it. It's just, like you said, a couple of things to know.
For the amount of money, you want to highlight what
Yeah,
it's for.
that's exactly right.
Also,
Mr. King.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Commissioner Daugherty, for that, because I had the same question, why budget amendments under both. But my understanding was that when we set this policy for budget amendments, is that, Mr. Wood, the possibility of having grants that are established that could be a flush and a pass-through for the whole amount.
Right.
But for this board to understand, is that, Mrs. Holt, a grant that's going to expire in 3 years, that we have to pick it up? And that was the whole thing with grants, is that once they're established, then
We'll make it clear if there's a carryover to where you're signing on for something else, but where it's just a capital grant, it's a one-time thing, there would be no addition from you or picking anything up in the future.
Okay.
But
And that would be a
if your
consent.
committee, a good example of what you're talking about would be like these COPS grants,
Yes, sir.
where you get money to pay for deputy sheriff for 3 years, and in the 4th year, you got to pick them up.
Yes, sir.
We would never put that under consent agenda. That's something you would vote on because there is a commitment on the back end there.
Right. As a commissioner, just being comfortable when I see a consent agenda where it has budget amendments, and then, of course, as today, under new business, it has budget amendments again.
Right.
As long as I'm comfortable with the consent agenda, budget being a pass-through that has no consequences
Right.
for the future as far as the county sustaining
Right.
that are having to supplement monies for that
Well,
grant.
that's your intent of your policy, and that's how we're doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if there's any money attached to it, that's why the airport one is coming to you. It's an add-on, but it would have come to you anyway because there's a 10% match.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So let me understand, I'll explain 321 and 323 from the packet.
I mean, I don't even mind, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if she did it now, and we wouldn't have to do it later. Since we just highlighted that we are on camera now.
However y'all want to do it, it's fine with me.
Would take her, what,
We won't take it.
2 minutes?
Would you like me to just explain these two?
Yeah, that's the only two that
Okay, number 321 is concealed weapons for $52,670, and fingerprinting for $26,335 for a total of $79,005. What they're doing is they're moving it into a capital outlay vehicle, and this is for the sheriff to purchase 3 vehicles. And then number 323 is crisis intervention money and low-income energy assistance money, $26,340 for crisis intervention, and low-income energy assistance, $39,570, for an increase of $65,910 all grant. So this is all either grant or restricted money.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Doherty.
Now I'm really confused. I would assume in looking at that, based upon our policy, that 321 should have been under new business for us to consider. But you're saying that
It's already appropriated, it's just changing line items. It's already restricted in the budget. It's that they had it in a 299 line item, and they just moved it to a 540 line item. So, I guess maybe we're confused too. You know, we want to,
I should have kept my mouth shut.
I wanted to
But
put it.
I understand, but you are actually moving an item from one line item to another.
Right.
And within that department, and it's not grant funds,
No, it's not grant.
but with that in mind,
I think one of the problems is when it's on the consent agenda, you vote on it. This isn't one that is coming through that you're not voting on. You actually vote on it when it's on the consent agenda.
Right.
So it's not one that doesn't fall under the policy you adopted last time.
I understand,
Because
but
you
I
still
would
vote.
prefer that that particular item be under full disclosure, be under the new business and not under consent item. So that there's full transparency, that people understand that the sheriff has in fact got these funds on hand and that he is using those funds specifically to buy vehicles. And if you put on a consent agenda, I mean, I think that's less transparent.
Okay.
And so that,
Well, and what y'all can do in the future, again, you know, we'll try to put anything of a large amount not on the consent agenda, but remember, anytime we put something on the consent agenda, if you want to remove it, any one commissioner can remove it.
well, I'm sorry, the next thing is, if, for clarity, when we get our agenda, if you would list out the budget amendments, the numbers that you are wanting to place under consent agenda, because I thought the consent agenda was going to be those items 5,000 or less.
They don't come
They don't even
before
have
you
to come
They don't
before you.
come before us.
Yeah, they don't.
So we were thinking that maybe if we put these here, how much do you want me to how much do you want me to go through? So we were trying to put
understand.
some under consent, if y'all didn't want me up here saying the same budget amendments every time.
Okay.
You know, they put erasers on pencils for a reason. Do we need to go back and put this back like it was? Because we're going to confuse ourselves and the public.
Well,
I
I think the policy is fine. It's, you know, if it's less than 5,000, then it doesn't come to you.
Right.
That part's fine. I think the only issue we've got now is what should we put on the consent and what should we put to where we go through a detailed explanation. But again, we'll err on the side of, if we're not sure it's going to be something you want to go over, we'll put it on to where she discusses it with you.
Mr. Mayor.
Since we're not putting on, in these budget amendments, 5,000 or less, that cut the number
Yeah.
quite a bit. So my recommendation to the board would be, is let's leave it like it was, make it simple, because you're only gonna have 5, 6, probably 10 at the most, because we're more than 5,000.
Yeah.
I agree with the chairman. I think we need to leave it like it is, let everything be transparent to the public.
Okay.
And it's much easier on our finance director.
Okay.
All right.
That's my.
Do we need to take a vote on that?
It's up to y'all. I mean, we understand it. You don't want them under consent agenda. If it's something that needs to be approved for a budget amendment, you want it not in the consent agenda.
Is that the
That's fine.
consensus of the board?
So if it's $5,100,
It's coming on,
it's coming on
the regular agenda,
To be-
and you will discuss it. She will discuss it with you, and you'll vote on it.
Yeah, let's do that.
But the ones 5 and under, or 499 under,
Well, those that are 5,000 under that have revenue associated, revenue and expenditure will be on consent.
Okay.
Just, you've given the manager the authority to sign between line items.
Right.
Less than that, so those will be on either one.
since, it's just thought, since it's clear that it only take about 30 seconds to explain to us in 8 o'clock what this is about, that same 30 seconds could be used after 9 o'clock to explain what this is about, because transparency is transparency, and if the budget director alludes to it, then the public has been made aware of it without us changing, going back, and creating a longer time for you to go through each one of them. We all vote on them, and that's 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, times 10, turns out to be 30 minutes. I just want to think about it. If she gives a 30-second explanation of it, I believe that ought to cover it. Because we just got through saying, if I understood you correctly, this is not county money, it's grants and so forth. So it's not really that we're taking money to spend somewhere, it's coming in, and she gives a good explanation of it. I believe I can catch it. I believe about 75–80% of the public can catch it. I just think that. I mean, and anybody else could just, call and say, what was this about? But I believe a good explanation of it, I believe will suffice for the public consumption of it. Whenever you explain it, I just think 30 seconds or so will cover it. And just like you're getting ready to do now. If it can work at 8 o'clock, it can work at 9, 15, 10, just a thought.
are we clear on? Move on.
So do you want me to explain all consent items today? Okay.
Anything else on the budgets and the consent agenda and the? Well, I'm confused too.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, new business, motion to approve a day of prayer in Wayne County proclamation. Mr. King, will you read that one for us, Wyndham?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Motion on interim county manager, recommendations on construction and final method of construction for the Grantham Middle School and Spring Creek School. Mr. Wood, you gonna
Yes, sir.
go over that, and then we'll take appropriate actions. City of Goldsboro Recreation Bond Referendum presentation. I think the city manager's gonna be here.
He's
or-
supposed to be here for that one and the next one, and he may bring someone with him.
Okay, so 3 and 4 both will be the city.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. King.
if 3 and 4 both, I understand being the city presentation, but the way I understand it through the agenda here is number 3 is not an action item, number 4 is an action item. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on number 4?
Mr. Chairman, item 4 here is stating a motion to approve a request for a letter of support for City of Goldsboro application for the transportation investment generating economic recovery, the Tiger Grant funding.
Right.
And am I understanding that that we are asked to actually,
We got to stop talking out of both corners of our mouth. We claim we want to do this.
9 o'clock, time to conduct the business of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Invocation, Mr. King.
Yes, sir. Would you bear with me, please? Father in heaven, we thank you for allowing us to get up this morning and be here in safety and to be able to express our concerns and the times that, Father, we do not know what to pray for. You give us that through the Spirit to intercede for others. As much is going on in this world today and in our state and in our county that brings fear to our hearts of what is going to happen today and what the news will be, and whether it be the disappearance of a plane with families or in a school or in a city or just out in the county somewhere, Lord. But we are taught by your word that we are not to fear, that we are laying our burdens on you, Lord, to oversee what we're going through, for you already know that. You know what we're thinking before we think it. You're all-knowing and all-powerful, and you're everywhere. So, Lord, this morning we just take this moment to come before your throne and boldly ask for your direction, for the forgiveness of sins that you do through the Spirit. And we ask that you allow us to say and do things today that will glorify you and this county, and watch over our staff, watch over our soldiers and our airmen and the people that are abroad that are protecting our country, the police that protect our municipalities, and the sheriffs, the deputies that protect our counties, and our highway patrol, Lord, that are on the roads, protecting that and driving and watching over transportation. There's just so much, Lord, that we ask you for. But we pray that we will not take it for granted, that we know that you are in control of this world, and we live in a great country, we live in a great state, and we live in a great county. And within our county, there are municipalities that we just pray that we just pray for your will to be done in our lives this day. Of course, in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Stand, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. I do want to remind everyone, if you have cell phones or pagers, please turn them off or put them on silent mode. And also, we're having difficulty this morning with our live broadcast. We do have audio, the audio part is working, but the telecast side, the visual side, we're having problems with, but we are live just on the audio side. Discussion, adjustments to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we have three things to add. One is the resolution that we discussed at the 8 o'clock meeting about, this would be a third resolution authorizing the filing of an application to borrow trust funds from North Carolina's Eastern Region and establishing the rates to be charged municipalities for the use of these funds. We were informed last Thursday night that Craven County is not going to use their allocation and is turning that back into the Eastern Region. So we are requesting that you make application for those funds. As you know, we're facing a fairly substantial repair bill on the Genoa sewer line, and of course, some of our municipalities also need some additional money. So what we're requesting is that you go after the full amount that Craven County will be turning back in. That's $576,923.08. So we would be asking you to add that. And then there are three budget amendments that we want to add. Ms. Holt, if you'll go over those, please.
Okay, number 333 will be an add-on, that is for the airport grant. Number 334 is for the Eastern Region, 338 is for the Eastern Region loan. And then number 320 is for sheriff's vehicle city cost.
Is that all the adjustments we have?
Yes, sir.
Today?
So we would ask that you put the request for the $576,000 under the consent agenda, and then the other three would be under budget amendments under new business, which Ms. Holt will go over with you.
Anyone, any of the commissioners have anything they need to add at this time? Okay, do I have a motion for approval of the minutes of the March 11th meeting?
So moved.
Have a motion on the floor. We approve the minutes of March 11th meeting. Any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor, share sign of right hand. Motion carries. The ones of you that's got your agenda sheets, we are after approval of the minutes, the appointment committee has some appointments that we need to make. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'll bear with me, I've got a little bit of allergy issue today, but if you would turn into actually it's in the first portion of your agenda. The first appointment that we have this morning is for the Eastern Carolina Workforce Development Board. We want to appoint Tanya France to this board, the East Carolina Workforce Development Board, and I make that in form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
One thing,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Pate.
On that particular board, we do have another opening that we were looking someone from the private sector, and I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Daugherty.
it's just inquiring. It says this would fill the organized labor position. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Yeah, what was that, Mr. Marshall?
That board has positions which has to be filled, as Mr. Pate just said. One is a private industry, one is a citizen, organized labor.
Drug
Pate,
rehab,
Employment
employment
Security
service,
Commission,
and so forth.
that type of thing. So this would be that position
Community
in the
college.
region that's
Okay.
being filled.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Any other discussion? Have a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion, share sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
If you will turn the page, let's see. Mr. Pate, on the Wayne County Veteran Services, we're gonna wait till next meeting on that.
Yes, sir. I had some questions about one of the applications. I need to follow up with my board on that to determine some information I need to find out before we can vote on that. So I asked for do table that for today.
Okay, if you will, turn the page again to the Wayne County Agriculture Advisory Board. Deborah Worley, William Howell, and Randy Gray. We'd like to reappoint all three of these to the Wayne County Agriculture Advisory Board, and that's a form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
That's all the appointments we have this morning, except at this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Steve King to the Highway 70 Corridor Commission Executive Committee. He's on it now, and I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint him to the Highway 70 Executive Board. And I make that a form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor that we, Mr. King go back on the 70 corridor. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor.
I just want to make clear that he's already on the board. This is the executive board. So, executive committee officially. Thank you. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay. All in favor of Mr. Mayo's motion, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all the points.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. Special recognition, employee service pins. Mr. Wood and Marcia, if you would take care of that, please.
Okay.
Mr. Wood, we're going to start with the 1 year. And when the employees' names have been called, we would ask that they come up and receive their pin, and for the Board of Commissioners to shake their hands.
We can train this one.
One year, Martha Bradshaw, Health Department. Susan Brock, Emergency Medical Services. Shamika Campbell, Health Department. Christopher Estes, Library. Kathy Fields, Inspections. Ruth Hoffman, Social Services. Shanda Odom, Social Services. Randy Tucker, Wayne Net. Tiffany Whitten, Health Department. Stephanie Ash, Library. Deborah Barfield, Health Department. Jack Baisden, Animal Control. Betty Capps, Health Department. Lana Clough, Social Services. Ashley Dawson, Social Services. Cynthia Graham, Social Services. Sarah Harris, Facility Services. Rajel Patel, Health Department. Tyler Santaford, Emergency Medical Services. Kevin Sheets, Social Services. Michael Smith, Facility Services. For our 5-year pins, we have Albert Anders Detention Center, Richard Carmack Detention Center, Devin Green Detention Center, Taiwan Miller Detention Center, Velvet Nixon Social Services, Virginia Griffin Wayne Net, Lisa Johnson Health Department, Edward O'Brien Solid Waste. Ten years, we have Louise Adams, Human Resources, Agnes DeVicis, Social Services. Agnes, how do you pronounce your last name?
I didn't pronounce
Vicki Granillo, Tax Office, Janelle Nava, Social Services, Terry Sutton, Sheriff's Office, William Tart, Sheriff's Office, Cynthia Daly, Social Services, Kathy Kelly, Health Department, Tammy Lance, Social Services.
Is that 10 years?
10 years.
Thank you so much.
And then I dropped off your ring.
15 years, Craig Edwins, Sheriff's Office, Virginia Goodman, Social Services, Sharon Carnegie, Social Services, Renee Wells, 4-H. For 20 years, Tina Williams, Health Department. Years, Tim Rogers, Solid Waste.
Yeah, 10 years on.
But you know a lot about traffic.
That. Thanks. Nice to be able to, I'm gonna hang around a little while longer.
So you know a whole lot about trash.
Yeah, that's right. Go Wallace. That's why it's
"35 years, Linda Savage, Emergency Services."
Now, that's not your other cousin, no 40s.
No 40 this time.
Yes, it is.
I found my meds, no, couldn't find them while ago.
Sitting there, Troy. Starting to watch my money.
We're a little late on our public hearing.
Okay, we're running just a few minutes late on the public hearing. Request to rezone 542 NC Highway 581 south from residential 10 to community shopping. Mr. Price, if you go over that, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Planning Department received a request from C4 Development to rezone 2 lots in the Rosewood Community intersection 581 of Rosewood Road, crossing Rosewood Middle School. Current zoning of the property is village and R10. Current use of the property has apartments and a mobile home on the property. Developer is proposing to build a retail store on that property, would involve demolishing existing buildings. The current zoning does not allow retail sales, which is the reason for the rezoning. I sent it to the planning board. Planning board recommended approval. We notified adjoining property owners by mail, plus I ran an ad in the newspaper, and posted the sign on the property. As again, I said, the planning board's recommendation is that the rezoning be approved.
This is not an action matter, this is just the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman. After you close the public hearing, if the board chooses to, they can take an action, or they can delay it till the next meeting. It's up to them.
Thank you, Mr. Price. You've heard Mr. Price's presentation on the request to rezone the property on 581 in the Rosewood community. What's the pleasure of the
Wait a
board?
minute, we have to have a public hearing first. Public comments on the hearing?
Public comments on the
Request.
rezoning request? Is anyone in the public, in the audience, that wants to make any comments? No one.
Close.
Close the public hearing. Do we need to take a vote on closing the public hearing or just close it?
Just close it.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. King?
as you all know, in District 4, this is in the district that I serve, and with that, there's a lot going on in that district, in particular the interchange of 581 and Highway 70. And as you all know, it started back when the Walmart was built, and since then we've had a medical center, a medical office. Sheets has indicated that they are interested in the corner of 581 and 70. That transaction's been made. There's other areas within the same proximity, within a half a mile of that interchange, that are growing. And as you know, this county desperately needs, and we'll see it in the budget hearings, that sales tax receipts, we need to grow that, and we also need to grow our property values. As you know, that's the lifeblood of the county commission. With that said, I strongly support this moving forward to change this to a shopping center or a retail arena, so we can better those property values and also better the sales tax receipt possibilities. There is one concern I have, and that is with the school there across the street. I would ask that the school board look into, with the DOT, having good traffic flow there as it gets busier because of the traffic. There is issues in the mornings and in the afternoons with traffic, with parents. That's a middle school. So there's, plus a high school is right down the road. So as we move forward to grow that area in a commercial venue, that we certainly ask, because of the school is on the corner, to look at redoing some of the traffic or having something to do with the safety on that corner with traffic. But I strongly support the zoning request. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve this.
I have a motion on the floor that we rezone the property at 542 Highway 581 from residential 10 to community shopping. Any comments? If no comments, all in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Unfinished business, I don't think we have any unfinished business to take care of today. Consent agenda. We have several items, 8 items on the consent agenda. Does any of the commissioners have any comments on any of those? Anything that's on the consent agenda they need to discuss?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. King.
Number 5.
Yes, sir.
Number 5 on the consent agenda, Mount Olive Comprehensive Transportation Plan. I'd like to make a comment on that, and I certainly would like Commissioner Daugherty. I've spoken to him earlier. He is the chairman of the Transportation Committee, as we know, for the Wayne County Transportation Board. My just comments on this particular issue is that the importance of the collaboration that was done on this study with Duplin County, with the city of Mount Olive, and with the county, with Connie Price, and all of those people that were at the table for the last year and a half, as Mount Olive has gone through a comprehensive land use plan, now a comprehensive transportation plan. And as you'll see through this, several pages that I'm sure all of you've read, is that it indicates how important 117 is to Mount Olive and to Duplin County and to that region crossing county lines there, to make this report of this study an asset to understand the importance of moving traffic through Mount Olive so close to the proximity of Mount Olive Pickle and to our industrial park and to our airport. and or to the Mount Olive Airport. This was a concern of mine a little over a year ago, and a concern of others, is that we make sure that 117 is on the radar. We are in the RPO, as you all know, there, and not in the MPO. And I'm glad to see we have RPO representatives here today. But Patrick, we appreciate you coming. But in this report, it outlines how important connecting, in particular, the college or the University of Mount Olive Pickle, and again, the airport and the industrial park. I would like to see this moved up on the RPO. I know it didn't score well. There was a particular area of 117 that did not score well. But Joe, do you want to lead in on anything? That's my comments, Mr. Chairman, but I know that Mr. Daugherty has been a big part of the 795-40 connector.
Mr. Chairman. I concur with your comments, and I think all of us here on the board, as well as in Mount Olive and throughout Wayne County, recognize the importance of upgrading 117 to 795 Status Expressway, and what that would be as such a vital link for the future of our county. That said, as being on the Transportation Committee, I am really concerned about the new scoring model and the funds that are available in Eastern North Carolina. And I want to go on record of stating that I'm very concerned about that, and I'm sure we all will be as we get more into this new formula. Eastern North Carolina, in order for it to grow, has got to have these vital corridors and expressways, and 117 upgrading to 795 is just critical to that. We are seeing a great deal of emphasis on 70, and that planning is already outlined, and we're working toward that. But 795 has just got to stay on that radar. So we would hope that it would move up. I commend the job done. It's very detailed, and I strongly support this. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Anyone else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Camardi.
First, I would like to thank our current county commissioners who serve on the Transportation Board, especially Mr. Daugherty. We all know he's and I say this with congratulations, he's a bulldog of a advocate for our share of whatever it is. And I happened to attend a meeting that he was in the other day, and relentlessly he pursued the idea of Eastern North Carolina getting their share. But the reason that I comment this morning is I believe I heard someone say that Eastern North Carolina does not have a strong advocate for our share of the funds in the whole transportation arena. Unless I misunderstood what was said, the concentration of the dollars are in the central or triad area of North Carolina. So this morning, I guess I'm appealing for that that great advocate somewhere in Eastern North Carolina to step forward and make themselves known in Raleigh. Or the citizenry might need to consider changing who's running Raleigh. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camardi. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Payton.
Without going into a lot of great detail, and Joe did a good job the other day, but we learned that it was disturbing that the limited dollars that are available in North Carolina. I met with a landowner yesterday, and he's on a state road that is in dire need of being paved. And I had to tell him, I said, I got some bad news for you. As we just learned last week, for repaving, there's only $44 million to be shared by 16 counties in this region, District 1 and District 4. And we only have one project on the radar, and it's going to be difficult to be able to get any kind of roads paved that are already paved, especially. And the best thing I told him that could happen is probably out of the maintenance, which is only still about $50 million for, fixing potholes and that kind of thing. But it is disturbing, and I hope that our leaders in Raleigh will be listening to us and take another look at that formula and try to help East North Carolina's economic growth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Mr. Mayor.
Well, it's time for me to jump in, I guess. I thought we were going to do our comments later, but I was very taken back at our DOT meeting last week. One of the advocates that I see that may come to play here, Ed, Commissioner Cromartie, is that the North Carolina Alliance, which is now the Eastern Region, is converting, as you know, to a nonprofit, the NC Alliance. And one of the things that group can do is that being an economic development, which includes transportation and infrastructure, they can help us in Eastern North Carolina. But I wanted to say that last Friday, when we had our NC Alliance meeting in Kinston, Secretary of Commerce Sharon Decker spoke to our committee, and she was talking about economic development, infrastructure as far as roads east of I-95 in Eastern North Carolina. And when she opened up the floor for questions, guess what Ray did? I mentioned to her about our report from the DOT for Region A, which is District 1, District 4. She was not aware of it. She was taken back. She says, I cannot believe this. I will look into it. Let me have your card, Commissioner. I will get back with you. Because she had just got through saying that the DOT, the infrastructure for Eastern North Carolina was critical for economic development. And it is. So that was a little time and place that she can let our officials know what our concerns are. So I think when we all come together, and the pushback, Commissioner Dollar, is probably going to be a lot more than we think, because eastern counties of North Carolina have not heard this presentation yet, as we heard in Onslow County the other night. So I think people are going to come together and try to get this taken care of. One project east of I-95 for $1.4 million. Is that correct? Is that the way you understood it?
That's the way I understood it.
That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable by any terms. So I just wanted to bring that up. I was going to wait to do it in my comments, but now it's the proper time to do it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else? Does any of the other commissioners have any comments to make on any of the other items on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the consent agenda.
I have a motion on the floor that we adopt the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to new business, motion to approve a day of prayer in Wayne County proclamation. Mr. King, will you handle that, please?
I will, Mr. Chairman. I would respectfully ask that we table this for another maybe 2 hours or so, if we can get into it later, as there's a couple of whereases here in the resolution that I'd like to ask our clerk to look into, just to make sure that this is right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. King.
I didn't want to read a resolution and it'd be wrong, so I just think if we could just move that off, but bring it back up later.
Okay.
At your discretion.
That'll be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'm going to skip around a little bit because we do have public comments at 10 o'clock. Mr. Wood, do you think 20 minutes you can handle your presentation in 20 minutes, or you want me to take care of some of the other items and we come back to you after the public comment?
I think it'd be better to take care of some of these other items.
Okay. Okay, let's go to, we're going to skip item number 2 right now. Item number 3, City of Goldboro.
Mr. Chairman, they were told to be here at 11 a.m.
Okay.
For 3 and 4.
We'll come back to that one for 3 and 4.
Budget amendments.
Mr. Chairman, we could, I could go ahead and start this presentation, then we could just break at 10 if you want to do that.
Let's
We can do
go
budget
ahead
amendment. We can do
and,
budget
let's go ahead
amendments.
and
Budget
get the
amendments.
budget amendments out of the way. Ms. Hope.
Okay, well, we're going to start with consent agenda budget amendments. Our first budget amendment is number 318. It is decreasing for Wayne Net, fluctuating overtime by $16,000, increasing straight time overtime $16,000. And it's just to appropriate additional funds needed for straight time overtime instead of fluctuating. We're using more funds in that category than in the fluctuating.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Darty.
Mr. Gurley leave?
You may be in the back in the finance office if you want me to.
Can you kind of give me an explanation of why we are now facing with additional overtime? On a budget amendment, we're having to add to the budget for.
No, sir, we're just decreasing one line, one category and increasing another. We're not actually adding to it. It's just where they budgeted, and they budgeted for more in fluctuating, and they're not using it in fluctuating, they use it in.
Okay, excuse me then. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Darty.
You want me to go through all of these? For y'all vote?
You need a motion on that. I move adoption of 318.
I have a motion on the floor in discussion. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, within the consent agenda, we had an add-on number 320 that we handed you at the beginning of the meeting. We're going to do number 320 and 321 together. Number 320 is decreasing non-capital seized property by $40,100, decreasing capital outlay equipment seized property to $5,900, and increasing seized property vehicles by $46,000. Number 321 is decreasing Number 321 is decreasing concealed weapon permits by $52,670, decreasing fingerprinting by $26,335, and increasing capital outlay vehicles by $79,005. Okay, this is a memo from the sheriff. He says, with your approval, I would like to purchase a 2014 Chevy Tahoe to replace an SUV that has high mileage, and the new vehicle will be a four-wheel drive. He's also asking for approval to purchase 3 new Dodge Chargers, including equipment, to replace older vehicles with high mileage that is in our fleet. These are all restricted funds.
Mr. Chairman,
The pleasure, board, Mr. Pate.
I make the motion that we approve
I have a motion-
320 and 321.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Mr. Darty.
I want to commend this sheriff for finding the funds, not from taxpayer resources, but from other sources to purchase 4 vehicles that didn't cost the taxpayers any dollars at all. And I'd just like to commend the sheriff for that action.
That's correct.
Any other discussion? No other discussion. I have a motion on the floor. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Number 323 is increasing administration in the DSS department, $65,910. It's additional funds that have been allocated to Wayne County, $26,340, crisis intervention, and $39,579 low-income energy assistance.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
I make a motion we approve, and I have a question.
I have a motion on the floor. Mr. Pate has a comment.
That is just grant money that they received, it's just
Yes, sir.
passes through.
County funds.
Okay, thank you, that's what I needed to know.
Any other discussion? If no other discussion, all in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Number 324 is a Progress Energy Neighbor Fund, increased by $2,114.78. No county funds. That's for the DSS department.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, we'll move on to those that were listed under your, the board call. And that is, number 325. This is strictly an accounting budget amendment. It is, increasing, transfers from 112, which was our, when we built the animal shelter, we had donations. And there's $15,712.90 left in that. We are doing away with that fund and moving it to a restricted area in our general fund. So it's just a transfer, it's doing away with a fund that we don't really need anymore and combining it into our general fund. Still restricted funds.
Mr. Chairman,
Back in the back.
Mr. Pate.
I make a motion we approve budget amendment 325.
I have a motion on the floor. We approve budget 325. Any discussion?
Excuse me, let me get to that. Where?
It's on
Okay,
page
way back there.
135.
In the book, yeah.
All right, okay, I'm getting there. All right, I'm there. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're going to do number 327 and 333
I
together.
need to get a vote on 325 first, please. I have a motion on the floor. We adopt, motion, budget amendment 325. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Okay, now, number 327 was in your packet, and number 333 was a walk-on. Okay, both of these are airport grants. That's why I was going to do them together. The first one is for the fuel farm design. It is increasing the fuel farm design line item by $535,638. The Vision 0910 grant is for $482,075, and it is a 10% match for the county, which is $53,563. There's also another grant that's connected with this, and this is for the waterline construction Vision 100. It is for $26,998. $24,298 is Vision 100 money. $2,700 is a 10% county match.
Do I have a motion on 327 and 333?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Mr.
Chairman.
Daugherty.
I just wanted to point out for the public, and that is that 333, the water construction line, is actually to provide enough water for fire hydrants and so forth there.
Yes.
Fire protection. Fire protection, is that correct? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And this was mandated. I mean, we had no choice but to do this. Any other discussion? No other discussion. I have a motion on the floor. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carried unanimous.
The next budget amendment, number 338, is also a walk-in. This is to anticipate and appropriate the funds from the Eastern Region for $576,923.08 and our 1% fee of $5,770. That's what the county had to put down in the fee.
Motion for approval, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor for budget amendment 338. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Daugherty.
my understanding, we received these monies, and we're just holding them, waiting for approval from.
We have not received them yet. We're anticipating receiving them shortly. The reason I wanted to go ahead and put the budget amendment in case they required that I give them the 1% fee, I wanted to make sure I had your approval before I was asked for those funds.
Thursday, we were supposed to go.
Thursday.
Thursday is this tentative date for
Yes.
closing.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's close enough. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor, show of sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
That's all the budget. Okay.
I've lost my sheet.
I think you can do the proclamation.
I'm ready for the resolution on National Day of Prayer, Mr. Chairman, if you're ready for that.
Okay, we'll go back to item number 1, motion to approve the day of prayer in Wayne County proclamation. Mr. King.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Drew, I announced at the beginning of the minutes of the meeting that you can put your phones on, cut them off or put them on silent mode. We do not need the distractions of you being on the phone while we're conducting business of Wayne County. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. For National Day of Prayer, I'd like to read this resolution, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. King.
Whereas May 1st, 2014 is the 63rd annual observance of the National Day of Prayer, and whereas the Continental Congress in 1775 asked the colonies to pray for wisdom in forming a nation, and whereas in 1863 President Abraham Lincoln proclaimed a day of fasting and prayer, and whereas in 1952 President Harry Truman signed a joint resolution by the United States Congress declaring an annual National Day of Prayer. And whereas in 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed an amended law permanently setting a National Day of Prayer as the first Thursday in every May. And whereas in 1988, the United States Congress passed a law directing the President to issue proclamation each year designating the first Thursday of May as the National Day of Prayer, on which the people of the county may turn to God in prayer and meditation at churches, groups, and as individuals. And whereas the citizens of Wayne County will come together and sponsor a community prayer service at 7 o'clock at the Family Y in Goldsboro to enable citizens in Wayne County and others to recall and to each in May of which our founding fathers sought the wisdom of God when faced with critical decisions. And whereas the theme this year is One Voice, United in Prayer, and whereas the Wayne County Board of Commissioners believes prayer is as important to our nation and community at this time as it was in the early 1700s. Whereas those participating in the National Day of Prayer will pray for the governments, the churches, the brave men and women serving in our armed forces, our families, education, the media, businesses, and the economy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 1st, 2014 as a National Day of Prayer in Wayne County. And the Wayne County Board of Commissioners urges the citizens of Wayne County to unite at 7 o'clock at the Family Y in Goldsboro and pray. Mr. Chairman, I move that this be adopted the 15th day of April 2014 with your signature, Mr. Chairman, George Wayne Aycock, Chairman of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. I submit that as a motion to approve and adopt.
I have a motion on the floor. Any comments? No comments. All in favor show a sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes to 10 public. We are back in session. We're going to take care of some other business before we have our presentations at 1 o'clock. Want to do the county manager's report now, or you want to do the commissioners? It doesn't matter.
I can go ahead. I don't have that many. Of course, just on the jail, we did have a meeting this past week with the sheriff and the major, and several of us also went on the tour of Kinston and got to see the pods there and the system there. I think it'd be fair to say that all of us who went on that trip were very impressed with the pod setup. And John, I don't know if you'd want to comment on that at all, but I know you were at the trip. And but it's a great setup. All of the plumbing and electrical and everything faces out. There's a chase between the outer wall and the outer wall of the cell, probably 5 feet, I would say, maybe 6 in their case. And so everything is coming out from the cell wall to there, so anybody on maintenance can work on everything without ever going into the cell. And they don't mix with the inmate population. You come in a different door, you walk around, it's I guess the best way to describe it is a 6 foot wide walkway all the way around the cell block. So it's a great way to set everything up, and the chief jailer, our chief jailer, Major Greenfield, really likes that design setup, and it seemed to work very well. So that was the main thing on the jail. On Gateway, just want to let you know, we do have we're on their agenda. We had hoped to be on their agenda for this week, but we'll be on it. This is a special meeting, then they're going to have another meeting, I think, on the 26th, and I have asked to be on that agenda because we need to get this rate increase situation squared away. And so at that point, of course, Borden and Pam normally attend anyway, so they will be there. I think Pam is a voting member of it, if I remember correctly. So at that point, we will make our presentation of where we think the rates ought to be in aggregate. And I do know that they are revisiting the rates now, so we'll wait and see what they come up with. But we need to get that resolved. We don't need to finish the year out at these higher rates. On the budget, just don't really have a whole lot to say there other than we're moving along fine. We're meeting with the various departments now, and probably have met with 5 to 7 of them already. So all the work on the budget is continuing. The library, if you remember when we took the tour, we said that the one holdup was getting the electric transformer, and we were able to get that earlier than we anticipated, so everything is definitely back on schedule. So the library is in good shape. And that's all of my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Doherty.
I have some questions for the county manager. In your earlier presentation regarding the schools, in some of my discussions over the schools, it has constantly been brought up that the benefit of going under the capital lease and with this architect, with this firm, was the energy saving components, this energy savings, no electric bill. Am I to understand under your recommendations of bid build, are there other firms that in fact can provide those energy saving components?
Yes, yes. A lot of this is on the open market. Geothermal systems have been around, solar systems have been around. So, I mean, if you listen to the architect, you would think we were building a space shuttle. But it's not all that complicated. And they are available.
So there are other firms competent and
Right.
that could actually provide that portion of those components.
Right.
Well, that's been one of the selling features of going under the capital lease with this architect. But you're saying it's really on the open market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of news.
Well, there are any number of contractors that are going to be able to bid on this. And they're able to there are vendors out there that they can buy those product lines from and install it. So.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone has got any questions for Mr. Wood? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Comment? You go ahead and start with our comments for about 15 minutes. Mr. Bell?
About the only thing I will say briefly about the jail, I talked to the sheriff in Milford, and they're all in agreement that it will be cheaper. I know we've been talking about a temporary fix. If the state convey this to us, it would be cheaper to fix it permanently, whatever section we're going to do, rather than doing it temporary. Because that would be you just be repeating yourself. You go in there and fix it temporary, and then you got to go back and bring it up to par. So if we go that direction, I think we should look at the possibility of just doing it like we're going to keep it, you know.
Right. And you're speaking of that 1994
the 1994 section, yes.
So that's the newer dormitory part is what he's speaking of. They feel like that if we fix that up, we might could just incorporate that into the permanent
facility. And I know we don't want to go off in a different direction, but we also need to be thinking about, because we're going to have a jail one way or the other. We're going to have to either build that out there, or we're going to have to build something someplace else. So we need to be looking at an alternative plan also, just in case. We don't have to do anything about it, but we need to know where we're going to go from here if we don't. Now, if they're going to lease it to us, then I know we don't want it, you know. I don't think we want to lease, as I said this morning, from the state.
100-year lease.
Huh?
100-year lease.
Yeah, okay. He said, unless we get a 100-year lease on it. Well, that would make sense. But other than that, that's about all I have, other than I met with the Juvenile Justice Committee, and they are doing pretty well. Wayne County works with a lot of youth of this county. I was surprised last Friday at how many youth we take care of in this county. So Sudie Davis and them is doing a real fine job over there with the juvenile of this country, of this county. Other than that, that's about all I have.
Well, a lot of what I was going to say we've kind of talked about already today, but I will give you an update on the Veterans Cemetery. Thanks to Andy Anderson and Eli Panay, who's actually the guy from North Carolina Veterans Affairs. And I'll just read the highlights of what he sent to me, the update. The second submission of the Veterans Cemetery Master Plan drawings was submitted to the Veterans Cemetery Grants Service Office in Washington, D.C. yesterday, Thursday, April 10. They should be received by Monday and maybe at least a week or longer before we, and i.e. the architect design team, receives feedback and critique. I've met twice with SFL plus A, y'all know those people, to discuss the changes that VA wanted to see in the first set of the drawings, i.e. master plan that was submitted. And the design team also met with the project manager from the State Construction Office to agree with the changes that had to be incorporated into the new master plan. Depending on what the VA likes or dislikes and changes that may need to be made, added or deleted, it will probably be the end of the month before designers can begin entering the schematic drawings, technical drawings. In the second set of drawings that were submitted to VA, the plans also include a design for the committal shelter and the administration building. If VA doesn't make any drastic changes, I think I may be able to soon brief the county commissioners and or other interested parties on the cemetery master plan basic layout and provide a look at the floor building plans, committal shelter and administration building probably the first or second week of May. So we ought to be hearing pretty soon on that. And he keeps emailing, and I'll try to keep you guys up to date as I receive that. Thank you.
I need to go back to Mr. Bailey just a minute.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to read the letter that you gave me this morning, and it's about Miss Annie Moore of 808 Tommy Road, Goldsboro, North Carolina. And it's from our chairman of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Dear Ms. Moore, happy 100th birthday. It is a pleasure to share this day with you and offer my best wishes to you on this special day. Longevity of life is a blessing of an individual and for the community in which they live and for the benefits of their knowledge and creativity and experience in which they bring to all. You have achieved a remarkable milestone to have lived through 100 years. Thank you for your numerous contributions, and may you have made to strengthen Wayne County. On behalf of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners, staff and citizens of Wayne County, congratulations on your special day of celebration and best wishes for many more years of health and happiness. Sincerely, George Wayne Aycock, Chairman, Wayne County Board of Commissioners. That's remarkable.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have several items, and I'll try to make it brief. Sometimes the public is interested in the kind of trips that we take, but we recently went to Onslow County to a regional county commissioner meeting, and I've gone to workshops a lot over my time in education, and sometimes it's not so much what presenters say, it's what your colleagues say. And it was very worthwhile to hear all of the different situations happening around in our region. So oftentimes that's what we really learn from, is listen to other people who are doing similar things that you're doing, describe to you their successes and the problems they have. So I just want to share that with the public, because we do travel just a little bit, but not excessively. Also, had the opportunity to attend a transportation meeting the other day, that's one of the committees that I do not serve on, but my colleagues here on the board does. And we do receive information back, but it was good to hear a wide range of transportation representatives talking about what we do, we get and don't get. And earlier, in somebody else's comments here, I made a comment that if we're not getting treated right in Raleigh, citizens might need to pay close attention to that. But this is sort of a combination comment, because we had our retreat last week. And our representatives that represent us seem to really have our interests at heart. Because this is what I want to tell you, what I heard one of the commissioners, one of the representatives turn to another one and say, because he was looking at the other guys, and the people who were there were Don Davis, Larry Bell, Louis Pate, and Jimmy Dixon. And one of them said, well, gentlemen, your group of people in Raleigh work close together. And that was refreshing to hear, because they were going across party lines to get that done. And so I just want to say, I believe our folk are working as hard as they can, but I believe there's some opposition up there in Raleigh that's not looking out for our best interests. And so that our concerned citizens need to be made aware of. Lastly, we have recently gone on a trip to the library down in Mount Olive, and that work is progressing very well. And as late as yesterday, our maintenance supervisor, I was talking to him on the phone, he said the power had been turned on in the library. So that's a big step forward. And so for the people of all of Wayne County, but especially Wayne County and the surrounding communities, I know will be glad to hear that the lights are on in the building, and therefore the shelves, the books, and all the other good stuff is going to be in there soon. But I do want to conclude by saying this to our board members here and to the county at large. My predecessor, J.D. Evans, was a push person to make this happen in Mount Olive. And so therefore, I will be looking forward to the day that it opens. And I say this to the committee, that we have some prominent something in the library that will stand the test of time, so that people will know that J.D. Evans was a great part of doing that. And I say this publicly to the public, and I want them to be thinking about what that grand something is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We're close to 1 o'clock. You want us to get the other three commissioners later, or you want to go ahead and get them now? Mr. Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Goldsboro Metropolitan Transportation Plan Committee met to continue its work to update the long-range transportation plan. The public is invited to give their input by attending the public meeting, which will be held this coming Thursday, April the 17th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Boys and Girls Club of Wayne County, and that's located on Royal Avenue. So public input for the Goldsboro Metropolitan Transportation Plan this Thursday the 17th, 4 to 7. Mr. Aycock, Mr. Wood, and myself and others met for a number of hours for further discussions on the plan on building these two new schools, the schools in Grantham and Spring Creek. We were able to narrow the differences during those discussions, and that's been presented to you today. I joined with several of the commissioners, the sheriff, and many others to tour the old prison again. I look forward to the conversion to provide the much-needed jail space and to stop the bleeding of sending our dollars outside the county to house our inmates. The commissioners' retreat was beneficial to all, I think, and it does give us a time to, in an informal setting, to sit down and discuss those issues and solutions for those things affecting Wayne County. The Board of Health met last Wednesday. As you can tell, most of my meetings are compacted here, but the Board of Health met last Wednesday. We are moving forward with preliminary planning to develop plans for a new health department facility. We are planning several trips next month, the first few weeks of May, to area health departments to ensure that our plans are created to show efficiency and cost effectiveness as we operate a new facility. The MPO met last Thursday to discuss a new transportation formula, and it's already been stated, I'm very upset with that $44 million for new projects that are earmarked for our region, which is a 16-county area. It's just extremely disheartening to see that our region, which includes Goldsboro, Kinston, and Greenville, and the 16 counties, have those limited funds available. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's Mr. Darrell.
And I finished before 1.
Mr. Mayor.
Did you say I had 35 minutes?
Seconds.
Seconds, okay. I better get moving.
You better hurry up.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On April 7th, the Jetport Advisory Committee met out at the Wayne Jetport. We had an update on the tank farm project. As you know, it's been a slow process, but it's finally beginning to take place. We talked about we're getting ready to possibly do a survey of the stormwater ditches out there that are really need to be cleaned. We're having some flooding issues, and also we are looking at putting in the 24-hour access that we've been talking about for a while. But I guess the biggest thing that everyone was concerned about, especially Doug Lancaster, was that on April 14th is the budget review with the interim county manager, Mr. George Wood. But we're making some progress. We are having some work, a few work sessions to set priority on the money that was given to the Jetport through the Eastern region. So we're actually trying to finalize some ironclad projects that have to be done, and we're going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. The budget retreat has already been mentioned. That was really informative. It's one of the, I guess it may be the first year since I've been a commissioner that I really didn't go to sleep. There was nothing boring about that meeting. It was really informative. I don't want to forget, on April 10th, we had the employee luncheon, and I really enjoyed that. We need to make sure that when we see the county employees out in public or wherever, that we mention to them, we tell them what they're doing right, how we appreciate them. A lot of times we only tell people, and I'm the same way in my own business, I only get with employees when they do something wrong. Well, let's tell each other when we do something right. DOT has already been mentioned. Commissioner Daughter, the rest of it, I'm upset about that also. Eastern region, we had a meeting on April 11th, which was Friday, and Wayne County's application for $1 million more of cross-allocation funds that was voted on during that meeting to accept our application, and it was accepted pending the availability of funds. So we know we may be overstepping what we're asking for, but not knowing how much is going to be available in the pot, we said, hey, we're going to get it out there and be first. So that was approved. As already been mentioned, the previous loan of $596,923 between Wayne County and Eastern Region is set for Thursday, April 17th, is that right, Mr. Parker? The closing of that. Now, if you remember, that had to do with the allocations we agreed upon and voted on to Pikeville, Fremont, Eureka, and Mount Olive. That's what that initial 596 is for. Right behind that, since I'm on the Eastern Region Board until June 30th, right behind that, the NC East Alliance meets, because it's the same board except we're moving into a nonprofit. And the discussion was about the nonprofit. We're trying to set maybe some projections in the future about some type of membership fee for the counties in order to be a part of the NC East Alliance. But as I mentioned earlier, Secretary Decker was there from Commerce, and she spoke to us a good 30, 45 minutes. And she really is on board with economic development east of I-95, and she said so. But she also believes at the end of the day that the NC East Alliance will be a valuable communication tool with the Department of Commerce in Raleigh. So the Eastern Region moving to an NC East Alliance nonprofit, we still would like to have a say-so as to what goes on in economic development. So as I mentioned earlier, during her comments, I informed her about our DOT meeting we had here in Wayne County, and she was not aware of it. She was not happy, and she said she's going to look into it and actually get back. She wanted my card, commissioner card, that she would let me know what she finds out. But Commissioner Daughter, we all need to be upset about this situation, because economic development east of I-95 or any place is dependent a lot on infrastructure, and we know that. And we're being cut short here, and we need to find out why and see if we can get it changed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. King.
Oh, I forgot something.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Let me read it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is to Rosa Lee Davis, Pikeville. Dear Mrs. Davis, happy 102nd birthday, 102 years old. It is a pleasure to share this day with you and offer my best wishes to you on this special day. Longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and for the community in which they live, and for the benefits of their knowledge, creativity, and experiences in which they bring to all. You have achieved a remarkable milestone that have lived through 100 years. Thank you for the numerous contributions you have made to strengthen Wayne County. On behalf of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners, staff, and citizens of Wayne County, congratulations on your special day of celebration, and best wishes for many more years of health and happiness. Sincerely, George Wayne Aycock, Chairman, Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other night, we went to Onslow County for the association's district meeting, which involves 12 counties. And there was about 9 people that did not show up, but there was probably close to all participation. It was about 70, 80 people there from the region. What we found is that we took as Commissioner Cromartie talked about, is an effort to see what the other commissioners were doing. And there were some commissioners at our table here that's sitting up here like to drop their say teeth, but like to drop. In fact, was quite shocked when they found out what these counties' tax rate, what 1 penny equaled, when one county said that theirs was like $38,000, and another one said, well, 1 penny on the tax rate in our county is $61,000. And then you almost can't say, well, a penny on our tax rate is $180,000. Or what is it?
740.
Well, you know, so I just wanted you to say that, and I wanted everybody else to say, you know, that it is that high. it's $750,000. And we have contiguous counties that their tax rate, 1 penny, is somewhere between 39 and 85,000. And we're sitting here at $750,000 on a penny. So I said all of that to say this, is that East of 95 is what we've been hammering on and nailing down for a year, or I have since '08, and the regionalism thought that at that time was sort of unheard of. But as you can see, with the administration in Raleigh and with what's going on in prosperity zones that'll be launched here July 1, and the lack of funding on the transportation part, and even our lotteries, and counties are saying, you're doing what? You're building 2 brand new schools. Don't you know what's happening up in this county or this county? We've relied on lottery funds now for 4 years. We passed bonds that we relied on these lottery funds, and we don't know how we're going to fund them. And you're building 2 brand new schools right now? We are. How far do you go where you don't offend somebody? How far do you go as a commissioner? Well, that's the part is that I want to say something to you today about, and to the people of Wayne County, is that we don't operate in silos any longer. You have to erase the lines. It's regionalism. And this intergovernments that we have in the county, you've got to get along. Everybody's got to know what you're doing, what you're up to, because it helps property values. It helps sales tax receipts. It helps pay for schools. It helps keep the tax rate down. But if you don't get along with one another locally, if you have infighting, whether it's education or sanitary districts, these governances that are in your county, if you don't get along, you're going to be left behind. Because the way of thinking today is regionalism. East of 95, I heard a House member say something yesterday about no matter at the end of the day, Republican or Democrats, we have to stay together at the end of the day. Anyone interested in growing eastern North Carolina, east of 95, is at the end of the day, you got to get along, because you don't have the votes in Raleigh. The Piedmont does, and you know where the population is. And that's what we're seeing in transportation, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. You're seeing this formula that is being put together because of caps on a gas tax, because there's no revenue. But the local administration here has to understand that we have to help other counties understand that we have to stick together. We have to know what's going on in other counties. We just have to know these things. And that's why this association launched the lottery fund concern, that when last year that 40% was taken out and now it's around 27%. We have to know that, because we're not the only county building schools. So I guess to finish up, as I said earlier, impressed with how Mount Olive and Duplin County got together and worked out a comprehensive transportation plan. Transportation is roads, as you know, ports, airports, and ports, or rail, I'm sorry, and rail. So all of those things work together: highways, rail, airports, and ports. And Wayne County right now is with the highways with 70, with the rail with 2 rails. Is that correct, Mr. Donovan? Airports, we have 2 airports. Ports, we have access to both ports through Wayne County, either Moorhead or going down to Wilmington on 795-40 connector. My comments are, we have to get passionate about working together and helping one another to understand, for us to move forward over the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, that funding is going to be different from the federal level with MAP 21, with transportation, which involved all those parts, and getting along internally so we can do, 1, increase our property values, and 2, generate more sales tax receipts. You heard the city this morning, Scott, say that, what people are saying, how come you don't do the sales tax? When your sales and retail sales are not there, why do you increase your taxes? So we have to increase our retail sales. We have to get more infrastructure in, is what we've just talked about, water and sewer and roads, There's just a lot that we're responsible for as commissioners. And I just applaud the commissioners now. It seems like we are being focused, as we have seen with our county manager today, and being so precise, so exact, so analytical, or just so perfect in saying this is every penny. And it's the people's. Today, I learned today something that I haven't seen since '08, since I've been here. We actually today saw the importance of saving the tax dollars, money from the taxpayer. We're going to put kids first. We're going to build 2 new schools. But I saw today, as a commissioner, that the number one priority in our county manager was to save the tax dollars, the taxpayers, to pay something unnecessarily to get the same product. And to be so dogmatic, I applaud you for that today. I appreciate that, because that means that we've hired the right person to get the job done, and that makes me feel good. And I just thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your time. I know I spoke a little bit longer than I was supposed to, but appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. King. I'm going to keep mine brief because we have got guests that want to present their presentation. I thought our budget retreat last week was very informative. Took care of a lot of issues and discussed a lot of issues that I think will be for the betterment of Wayne County. Also attended the employee appreciation lunch, and we've got employees that are smiling and laughing now that hadn't always been smiling and laughing since I've been on board. But I think we had a great luncheon. Our employees appreciate what we're doing, most of them, and we certainly appreciate what the employees are doing, because they're the ones that make us look good or either bad, and most of the time they make us look good. And I just want to thank all the county employees for what they do. Also, the meeting we went to in Onslow County, North Carolina County Commissioners Association, I had been to the other meetings in Raleigh when you had participants from most of the counties, but this one was just 12 counties from the eastern region, and we think we have problems here in Wayne County, and we do sometimes have some big issues. But you go to those meetings where you can have the opportunity to talk and meet with people one-on-one from less fortunate counties. We've got a lot to be thankful for, because like Mr. King says, we've got some counties that I don't know how they survive. I really don't. But like Steve says, you know, we got to work as a region, because we've got neighbors that would do the same thing for us, and we've got several neighbors that are not near as fortunate as we are. And also tonight, the Wayne County Firemen Association's meeting is at Fremont from 7:30 until about 8:30. Anyone is invited and welcome to be there. And that's all I've got. Mr. Wood or Noel, our next item is request for qualification for the Wayne County Detention Center presentations.
Mr. Chairman, it's going to take us just a moment to get set up.
Okay.
So a 10-minute recess.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 seconds to you.
I did get
Hey. 32
Yeah, I get a 3.
Session is open.
Tom Drew, P.O. Box 587, Dover 27533. As I addressed before the Board of Education last night, ordinary matters happened a couple Saturdays ago. I'm surprised I even made it, still surprised I made it here today. Though my last words I had on a sign 2 Saturdays ago, it was to be a internet Interfaith Forum, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. This saw Mr. Cromartie there. Was anyone else there? I saw him, it was about 5 to 10, it started at 10, and then censorship, what I call thought police, impeded my ability to advance this. And complex, perplexing matters that evolved, as last night, as I addressed both Board of Education meeting, Board Commissioner meetings. These 3 and 4 minutes cannot do justice to what you want to communicate to the public, and I suggest then that you put it in writing, dated and signed, then email or mail, snail mail, fax to your Board of Commissioners, Board of Education and such, those related to it. And it becomes a public record, and then the citizens concerned as well as you about matters impeding the ability to be healthy, wealthy, and wise can review it and critique it. I did seek proactive to that forum. It was falsely advertised as a forum, but I sought proactive to the date of the forum, the Board of Education and Board of Commissioners' definition of the word forum. And do they recognize the forum as the foundation of education and democracy? Sought the same from the promoters, coordinators, and such advertisers of it. When I arrived that day, I had both fingers crossed. No reply, no reply, no reply. It's stress and duress. I seek healthy, in-depth open discussion of matters to help one and all be healthy, wealthy, and wise. And when it's not happening, it's as much detrimental to my well-being. I see how detrimental it is to the public as well. And there is an ongoing open letter series. Been seeking after the fact the ins and outs of why I was threatened with arrest, to even be present to see what did happen that day. Complex and perplexing things. Fortunately, as a citizen reporter, I've gained some skills in exploring these matters. Been so many forums lately that they're overwhelming. Even back to the one at Lane Tree, which I identify as a grand slam sham of a forum. I would add today a grand slam sham scam of a forum. And just a little thing out on, where's the time? 1 minute left. I do recognize FS plus PA equals D is the finest medicine on earth. It secures the forum. For Mr. King, May 1st, National Day of Prayer, prayer is mighty fine medicine. We need to have a forum on the best way to pray. And I'll be there that day if I'm not threatened with arrest.